Captain Zethkar stood on the bridge of his warship, watching the stars through the main viewing screen. His long tail swished behind him as he studied the data on his command console. The reptilian captain had scales that gleamed dark green under the ship's lights. His yellow eyes showed no fear, only hunger for conquest. The Void Stalker was one of the finest ships in the Vorthak hegemony fleet. Its hull was thick armor plating that could stop most weapons. The ship carried enough firepower to destroy a small moon. Behind Zethkar, his crew worked at their stations with military precision. They were all Vorthaks, all warriors, all ready for battle. "Captain," said his tactical officer, Lieutenant Vasktor, "we are approaching the human border. Their warning beacons are getting stronger." Zethkar made a sound that was part laugh, part growl. "Warning beacons? How pathetic. What do they say?" Vasktor checked his screen. "The usual weak words. Turn back. Do not enter. Contact the diplomatic station for permission to visit. The message repeats in 47 different languages." 47 languages, Zethkar said with disgust. "They try to please everyone. This shows how weak they are. A strong species speaks one language and makes others learn it." The captain walked to the front of the bridge. Through the viewing screen, he could see the edge of human space. There were no mighty fortresses here, no fleets of warships guarding the border. Just empty space with a few small warning beacons floating in the void. The Vorthak hegemony had conquered 17 star systems in the past 50 years. Every species they met had tried to fight them. Every species had lost. The Vorthaks were natural warriors. Their thick scales could stop bullets. Their claws could tear through metal. Their ships were the most advanced in this part of the galaxy, or so they thought. "Captain," called the communications officer, "the other ships are ready for your orders." Zethkar looked at his fleet. 3 ships total. The Void Stalker was the largest, a heavy cruiser built for war. The Sharp Fang was a destroyer, fast and deadly. The Blood Moon was another cruiser, smaller than his ship but still powerful enough to level a city. Intel reports said human space was poorly defended. The humans had spread across many worlds, but they had no central military. Each planet defended itself. Their technology was old and simple. Their weapons were weak. Their ships were slow. This would be easy. "All ships, follow my lead," Zethkar ordered into his communicator. "We cross the border now. Target the mining colony called Haven's Rest. Intelligence says it has valuable resources and only light defenses." The 3 Vorthak ships moved forward. They passed the warning beacons without slowing down. The automated messages kept playing, but no one was listening. Zethkar felt the thrill of the hunt. Soon he would have slaves working the mines for the hegemony. Soon, human worlds would bow before Vorthak might. Soon his name would be known across the galaxy as the captain who opened human space to conquest. On his personal screen, he began recording a message for the Hegemony Command. "This is Captain Zethkar of the Void Stalker. We have entered human space without resistance. Their border defenses are exactly as pathetic as our intelligence predicted. I see mining stations and farm worlds with no military protection. The humans appear to have no real fleet, no fortifications, and no warrior spirit." He paused the recording to check his sensors. His tactical officer was right. The nearest human military base was weeks away according to their star charts. By the time any help arrived, the Vorthaks would have taken everything they wanted. "Resume. Recording," Zethkar said. "I expect to have complete control of this sector within 7 standard days. The humans seem to be exactly what we hoped, weak, scattered, and unprepared for real war. Zethkar out." The captain felt proud of himself. This would be the easiest conquest in Vorthak history. What Zethkar did not know was that his ships had been detected the moment they crossed the border. Hidden sensors, invisible to Vorthak technology, had been tracking them since they entered the system. Across human space, quiet alerts were already going out. The humans had learned many things in their centuries among the stars. One of the most important lessons was this: the best defense often looks like no defense at all. Deep in space, Commander Sarah Chen sat in the captain's chair of her ship, the Nightfall. Around her, the bridge was dark and quiet. Her crew worked at their stations without making a sound. The ship itself was invisible to most sensors. It was a ghost in the void. 3 bogies confirmed, whispered her sensor officer. Heavy cruiser, destroyer, and medium cruiser, Vorthak design. They're heading straight for Haven's Rest. Chen nodded. Alert the colony, make sure they know help is coming, and send word to Captain Rodriguez on the Defiant. Tell him we have customers. The Nightfall was a stealth destroyer, one of humanity's most advanced ships. It could hide from almost any sensor system. It could move without being detected. It was the perfect ship for watching uninvited guests. Chen had been hunting in space for 20 years. She had fought in the AI wars. She had defended human colonies from pirates and raiders. She knew how to track prey without being seen. The Vorthaks thought they were the hunters. They had no idea they had become the hunted. On Haven's Rest, the mining foreman Marcus Webb received the alert with a grim smile. He was a big man with gray hair and scars on his hands from years of hard work. He had been a soldier before he became a miner. He knew what war looked like. "Boys," he called to his crew over the comm system, "we've got company coming. 3 Vorthak ships. Looks like they want to play rough." The miners stopped their work and looked up from their machines. They were tough people who worked in space. Every day, they did not scare easily. "What's the plan, boss?" asked Jenny Martinez, his second in command. "Same as always," Webb said. "We keep working and let the Navy handle the visitors. But be ready to get to the shelters if things get messy." Webb walked to his office and activated the colony's defense systems. Warning lights came on around the mining platform. Emergency. Doors sealed automatically. The few weapons they had powered up. It was not much, but it did not need to be much. The real defenses were already on their way. Back on the Void Stalker, Zethkar was getting impatient. "How long until we reach the mining colony?" 6 hours at current speed, Captain," his navigator replied. "Too slow. Increase speed. I want to get there before they have time to send for help." What Zethkar did not realize was that help had already been sent for. Help had been sent for the moment his ships crossed the border. The captain spent the next few hours studying intelligence reports about humans. According to Vorthak spies, humans were weak fighters. They preferred to talk instead of fight. They had no real military tradition. They were merchants and farmers, not warriors. The report said human ships were slow and poorly armed. Human soldiers were cowards who would run at the first sign of real danger. Human colonies had no meaningful defenses. All of this information was wrong, but Zethkar had no way to know that. The truth was that humans had been very careful about what information they let other species discover. They had spent decades making sure that potential enemies would underestimate them. It was working perfectly. As the Vorthak ships got closer to Haven's Rest, their sensors started acting strange. They would detect something for a moment. Then, it would disappear. They would get readings that made no sense, then everything would go back to normal. "What is wrong with our equipment?" Zethkar demanded. His technical officer checked the systems. "I'm not sure, Captain. Everything appears to be working correctly. Perhaps human space has some kind of natural interference." The truth was much simpler. Human technology was interfering with their sensors. Ships they could not detect were jamming their equipment. The humans were already playing with them. When the Vorthak fleet finally reached Haven's Rest, they found exactly what they expected: a simple mining platform orbiting a dead planet. A few cargo ships moving slowly between the platform and the surface. No sign of military vessels. It looked helpless. It looked defenseless. It looked like easy prey. Zethkar opened a communication channel to the mining platform. "Attention, human colony. This is Captain Zethkar of the Vorthak Hegemony. You are now under our control. Surrender." Immediately, and you will not be harmed. Resist, and we will destroy you. The response came quickly. It was the voice of an older human male, calm and relaxed. This is Marcus Webb, foreman of Haven's Rest. I'm afraid I can't do that, friend. This is human space, and you weren't invited. Zethkar snarled. You have no choice, human. We have 3 warships. You have nothing. Surrender now, or face the consequences. Webb's reply made the Vorthak captain's blood run cold. The human was laughing, actually laughing at him. Oh, I wouldn't say we have nothing, Webb said. In fact, I'd say you boys just made the biggest mistake in your species' entire history. But don't worry. Help is already on the way. Zethkar cut the communication. He was angry now. How dare these weak humans laugh at him? How dare they refuse to surrender? Captain, said his tactical officer, I'm detecting some minor system problems across the fleet. Nothing serious, just small glitches. The problems started small. A navigation computer would freeze for a few seconds, then work normally. A communication system would produce static, then clear up. A weapon targeting system would lose lock on its target, then reacquire it. Nothing obviously dangerous. Nothing. That seemed like an attack. Just the kind of technical problems that sometimes happened in space. Except they were happening far too often to be normal. Zethkar did not know it yet, but the humans were already inside his ship's computer systems. They were already taking control of his weapons, his engines, his life support. They were doing it so slowly and carefully that the Vorthaks did not even notice. The captain of the Void Stalker thought he was in control. He thought he was the predator. He thought the humans were helpless prey waiting to be devoured. He was about to learn how wrong he could be. In the darkness of space around Haven's Rest, more than a dozen human ships waited in perfect silence. They were invisible to Vorthak sensors. They had been there for hours, waiting for their prey to arrive. The trap was set. The bait had been taken. Now it was time for the Vorthaks to learn what it really meant to enter human space uninvited. Zethkar stood on his bridge, looking at the mining platform through his viewing screen. In a few more minutes, he would give the order to attack. In a few more minutes, he would begin the conquest of human space. He had no idea that in a few more minutes, his entire understanding of the universe was about to change forever. 12 hours had passed since the Vorthak ships entered human space. Captain Zethkar was beginning to feel uneasy, though he would never admit it to his crew. Something was wrong, but he could not figure out what. The Void Stalker and her 2 companion ships moved deeper into human territory. They passed several small outposts and mining stations. All of them looked defenseless. All of them sent the same kind of message when the Vorthaks contacted them. This is human space. You were not invited. Please leave immediately. The humans never sounded afraid. They never begged for mercy. They just politely asked the Vorthaks to go away, as if 3 heavily armed warships were no more dangerous than lost tourists. It was starting to make Zethkar angry. Captain, said Lieutenant Vasktor from his tactical station, our sensors are still having problems. I keep detecting ships that aren't there. Zethkar walked over to look at the display. For a moment, it showed 3 human vessels following them at long range. Then the contacts disappeared. A few minutes later, the sensors would show different ships in different positions. Then those would disappear too. It must be some kind of natural phenomenon, Zethkar said. Human space probably has unusual magnetic fields or radiation that interferes with our equipment. Vasktor nodded, but he did not look convinced. Should I run a full diagnostic on the sensor array? Do it, but make it quick. I want our systems working perfectly when we attack Haven's Rest. What Zethkar did not know was that the phantom contacts were real. Commander Sarah Chen's ship, the Nightfall, had been following them since they crossed the border. So had half a dozen other human vessels. They were all invisible to Vorthak sensors. Chen sat in her captain's chair, watching the alien ships on her screen. Her stealth destroyer was less than 1,000 kilometers behind the Vorthak fleet, but they had no idea she was there. "They're still heading for Haven's Rest," reported her tactical officer. "No change in course or speed." "Any response to our electronic warfare efforts?" Chen asked. Her communications officer smiled. "They think their sensor problems are natural interference. They have no idea we're jamming their equipment." Chen nodded. Human electronic warfare technology was decades ahead of anything the Vorthaks had. The aliens were flying blind and did not even know it. "Keep monitoring their communications," she ordered. "I want to know everything they're planning." The truth was that human ships had been watching the Vorthaks for months before they ever crossed the border. Intelligence agents had infiltrated Vorthak space. Spy satellites had monitored their military preparations. The humans knew exactly what the aliens were planning to do. They were ready. On the Void Stalker, the technical problems were getting worse. Navigation systems would randomly change course for a few seconds. Weapons would lose power, then come back online. Communications would cut out in the middle of conversations. "This is unacceptable," Zethkar snarled. "How can we conquer anything if our own equipment doesn't work?" The chief engineer, a heavily scarred Vorthak named Grelthak, climbed up from the lower decks. "Captain, I've been checking our systems all morning. Everything appears to be in perfect working order. The problems seem to be coming from outside the ship." "Outside? What do you mean?" "I mean something is interfering with our electronics, something very sophisticated." Zethkar's eyes narrowed. "Are you saying the humans are doing this?" Grelthak hesitated. "I don't know, Captain. But the interference patterns are too complex to be natural. They look almost like deliberate jamming." The captain laughed harshly. "Impossible. Our intelligence reports say human technology is primitive. They could not possibly interfere with Vorthak military systems." But deep down, Zethkar was starting to wonder if their intelligence might be wrong. The answer came when they tried to contact one of their scout ships that had been sent ahead to check the route to Haven's Rest. "Sharp Fang, report your status," Zethkar ordered into his communicator. Silence. "Sharp Fang, respond immediately." Still nothing. Vasktor checked his sensors. "Captain, I'm not detecting the Sharp Fang anywhere in this system." "What do you mean? Where did it go?" "I don't know, sir. It was there an hour ago. Then it just disappeared from our screens." Zethkar felt a chill run down his spine. Vorthak ships did not just disappear. They were too well built, too heavily armored. If the Sharp Fang had been destroyed, there should have been wreckage. There should have been an explosion. There should have been some kind of distress signal. Instead, there was nothing at all. "Captain," called the communications officer. "I'm receiving a transmission from Haven's Rest. It's the human foreman again. Put him on screen." Marcus Webb's weathered face appeared on the main viewer. He was sitting in what looked like a simple office, drinking coffee from a metal cup. He did not look worried at all. "Captain Zethkar," Webb said with a friendly smile. "How are you folks doing out there? Having any technical difficulties?" Zethkar leaned forward in his chair. "How do you know about our technical problems?" "Oh, word gets around. You know how it is." "Where is our scout ship? What happened to the Sharp Fang?" Webb took a sip of his coffee. "Can't say I know anything about that. Maybe they decided to go home early. Space can be dangerous for folks who don't know their way around." The human's casual attitude made Zethkar furious. "Listen to me, human. We are the Vorthak hegemony. We have conquered 17 star systems. We do not fear you." "I'm sure you don't," Webb said calmly. "But maybe you should start." The transmission cut off. Zethkar stared at the blank screen. No human had ever spoken to him like that. No species had ever shown such disrespect to Vorthak power. "Captain," Vaskator said quietly, "I'm detecting something odd in the asteroid field near Haven's Rest." "What kind of odd?" "The asteroids are moving in formation, almost like they're ships pretending to be rocks." Zethkar studied the sensor display. His tactical officer was right. The asteroids were too evenly spaced. They were moving too precisely. And some of them were giving off energy readings that rocks should not produce. It's a camouflage, he realized. Those aren't asteroids. They're human ships hiding among the rocks. For the first time since entering human space, Zethkar felt something he had not experienced in years of conquest. He felt doubt. How many ships? He asked. Vasktor worked at his console for several minutes. I can't tell, Captain. Our sensors can't penetrate their camouflage completely. Could be a dozen, could be 50. Zethkar made a decision. All ships, reduce speed. Prepare for possible combat. But as soon as he gave the order, more problems began. The Blood Moon reported that its main engines had shut down unexpectedly. The Void Stalker's weapons systems developed a targeting glitch that made them point in random directions. Captain, Grelthak called from the engineering station, someone is in our computer systems. They're controlling our ship remotely. That's impossible. Vorthak security. Protocols are unbreakable. Apparently not, sir. Whoever is doing this, they're very good at it. On the bridge of the Nightfall, Commander Chen watched her cyber warfare specialists work their magic. They had been inside the Vorthak computer systems for hours, learning everything they could about alien technology. We have complete access to their navigation, weapons, and communications, reported her technology officer. We could shut down their engines entirely if you give the order. Not yet, Chen said. Let them get a little closer first. I want them to understand exactly what kind of situation they're in. The Vorthaks were beginning to understand. As they approached Haven's Rest, more and more problems developed. Their shields flickered on and off. Their life support systems produced warning alarms for no apparent reason. Their artificial gravity shifted randomly, making the crew stumble around the decks. This is coordinated, Zethkar realized. Someone is doing this to us deliberately. But who? Vasktor asked. The humans shouldn't have technology this advanced. The answer came when a new ship appeared on their sensors. It was sleek and gray, about half the size of the Void Stalker. It moved with impossible grace, dancing between the asteroids like a fish swimming through water. Unknown vessel. This is Captain Zethkar of the Vorthak hegemony. Identify yourself. The response came immediately. This is Captain Rodriguez of the UES Defiant. You are trespassing in human space. You have 30 seconds to reverse course and leave our territory, or we will remove you ourselves. Zethkar looked at the human ship on his screen. It was tiny, compared to his fleet. Its hull looked old and worn. Its weapons appeared to be standard laser cannons, nothing special. The Vorthak captain began to laugh. You're threatening us? One small ship against 3 heavy cruisers? 29 seconds, Rodriguez replied calmly. This is ridiculous. All ships target the human vessel. Prepare to fire. 28 seconds. Zethkar was about to give the order to attack when his weapons officer reported a problem. Captain, our targeting systems won't lock onto the human ship. Every time I try to aim at them, the weapons point somewhere else. Override the computer. Fire manually. I'm trying, sir, but the controls aren't responding. 27 seconds, came Rodriguez's voice. Zethkar realized that the humans had complete control of his ship's systems. They could make his weapons fire wherever they wanted. They could shut down his engines. They could turn off his life support. His mighty warship had become a helpless target. 26 seconds. Wait, Zethkar called out. We need to discuss this. 25 seconds. Around him, his crew was starting to panic. The Vorthaks were natural warriors, but they had never faced an enemy they could not fight. How do you battle someone who controls your own weapons? 24 seconds. The captain of the Void Stalker looked at his tactical display. His ship was surrounded by hidden human vessels. His computers were completely compromised. His weapons would not obey his commands. For the first time in his military career, Captain Zethkar was completely helpless. 23 seconds, said the calm voice of Captain Rodriguez. Zethkar finally understood. The humans had not been caught off guard by his attack. They had been waiting for it. They had prepared for it. They had turned his own technology against him. The hunters had become the hunted. The countdown continued in Captain Rodriguez's calm voice. 22 seconds. Captain Zethkar felt sweat forming on his scaled forehead. Around him, his bridge crew waited for orders that he could not give. His weapons would not fire. His Baikonur engines would not respond. His ship was trapped like an animal in a cage. 21 seconds. All right, Zethkar said quickly. We will leave human space. Just give us time to turn around. 20 seconds. The human captain was not stopping. The countdown. Zethkar realized with growing horror that Rodriguez meant exactly what he said. In 20 seconds, the Vorthax would be fighting for their lives. 19 seconds. I said we surrender, Zethkar shouted. 18 seconds. Lieutenant Vasktor looked up from his station. Captain, the human ship is moving. It's coming directly at us. On the main screen, they could see the UES Defiant accelerating toward them, but something was wrong with what they were seeing. The ship was moving faster than their sensors said was possible. It was changing direction without slowing down. It was flying like no ship should be able to fly. 17 seconds. All ships evasive maneuvers, Zethkar ordered. Sir, our engines won't respond, called the navigator. We're locked out of the control systems. 16 seconds. The Defiant was getting closer. As it approached, Zethkar could see that he had been wrong about the human ship. What he thought was an old, worn hull was actually advanced armor that absorbed sensor readings. What he thought were simple laser cannons were weapons he did not recognize at all. 15 seconds. Please, Zethkar said into his communicator. We understand. We will leave immediately. 14 seconds. Captain Rodriguez's voice remained perfectly calm, as if he were counting down to a routine training exercise instead of a battle that would decide the fate of 3 ships and their crews. 13 seconds. On his tactical display, Zethkar watched, in amazement as the human ship performed maneuvers that should have been impossible. It spun around asteroids like they were not there. It changed course so quickly that it seemed to teleport from one position to another. 12 seconds. What kind of engines do they have? Whispered his engineering officer. 11 seconds. The answer came when the asteroid field around them suddenly came alive. What they had thought were rocks began moving with purpose. Energy readings spiked as hidden weapons powered up. The space around Haven's Rest was filled with ships that had been invisible moments before. 10 seconds. Zethkar stared at his sensors in disbelief. There were dozens of human vessels hidden among the asteroids. Some were disguised as rocks. Others were so small they looked like debris. Still others were simply invisible until they chose to reveal themselves. 9 seconds. How many ships are there? Vasktor asked in a shaking voice. 8 seconds. The tactical display was lighting, up with new contacts every second. Destroyers, cruisers, ships so small they could barely hold a crew. Ships so large they dwarfed the Vorthak vessels. 7 seconds. This isn't a mining colony, Zethkar realized. It's a military base disguised as a mining colony. 6 seconds. Every piece of equipment in the asteroid field was showing energy. Signatures now. Mining platforms that were actually weapons platforms. Cargo ships that were actually warships. Even the asteroids themselves had weapons hidden inside them. 5 seconds. We walked into a trap, Vasktor said. 4 seconds. Zethkar opened a communication channel. Captain Rodriguez, we surrender completely. We will leave human space and never return. 3 seconds. Please, we understand now. We made a mistake. 2 seconds. The Defiant was now close enough that they could see its hull markings. Instead of battle scars, Zethkar saw carefully painted symbols that meant nothing to him, but looked important to humans. 1 second. Time's up, Rodriguez said. The Defiant did not fire massive energy beams. It did not launch nuclear missiles. Instead, it fired small, precise shots that hit exactly where the human captain wanted them to hit. The first shot disabled the Void Stalker's main communications array. The second shot destroyed a sensor cluster. The third shot took out one of the ship's engines. Each shot was perfectly placed. Each shot hit a specific system without damaging anything around it. The humans were not trying to destroy the Vorthak ships. They were performing surgery on them. "Return fire," Zethkar ordered. "I can't, Captain," his weapons officer replied. "Our targeting system is aiming our guns at empty space. On the Blood Moon, Captain Skelvar was having the same problem. His weapons would not obey his commands. When he tried to fire at the human ship, his cannons pointed at asteroids instead. The humans had not just hacked their computer systems. They had taken complete control of them. The Defiant danced between the Vorthak ships like a predator playing with wounded prey. Every few seconds, it would fire another precise shot. Communications equipment, sensor arrays, engine components, shield generators. The human ship was systematically dismantling the Vorthak fleet, piece by piece. "This is impossible," Grelthak said from his engineering station. "Their ship is too small to have this much firepower." But Zethkar was beginning to understand. The Defiant was not fighting alone. The hidden ships in the asteroid field were also firing, their shots coordinated perfectly with the lead human vessel. It only looked like one ship was doing all the damage. "Captain," Vascator called out, "the Sharp Fang is trying to escape." On the tactical display, they could see their smallest ship attempting to flee the battle. It had turned away from the asteroid field and was accelerating toward the edge of the system. For a moment, it looked like the Sharp Fang might get away. Then it simply vanished. Not destroyed, not damaged, just gone. 1 second it was there on their sensors, moving at full speed. The next second, there was nothing but empty space where it had been. "What happened to it?" Zethkar asked. "I don't know, Captain. It just disappeared." There was no explosion, no debris field, no energy signature of weapons fire. The Sharp Fang had been erased from existence as if it had never been there at all. The remaining Vorthak crews realized they were not fighting a normal enemy. They were fighting something far beyond their understanding. Captain Rodriguez's voice came over the communication channel again. "Vorthak vessels, you now have a choice. Surrender and be escorted out of human space alive, or continue this fight and join your companionship wherever it went." Zethkar looked around his bridge. His crew was staring at him with fear in their eyes. These were warriors who had conquered star systems. They had never shown fear before in their entire lives, but they had never faced anything like this. "What are you?" Zethkar asked. "We're humans," Rodriguez replied simply, "and you're trespassing." The Defiant continued its deadly dance around the Vorthak ships. More precise shots disabled more systems. The aliens were becoming completely helpless. "I don't understand," Zethkar said. "Our intelligence said your technology was primitive. Our spies said you had no real military." "Your spies saw what we wanted them to see," came a new voice on the communication channel. A different ship appeared on the Vorthak sensors. This one was larger than the Defiant, painted in dark colors that seemed to absorb light. It moved without making any sound that their instruments could detect. "This is Commander Chen of the UES Nightfall. We've been following you since you crossed our border." Zethkar stared at the new ship. "Following us? Impossible. We would have detected you." "Would you? Check your sensor logs for the past 12 hours. Look for the phantom contacts your crew kept reporting." Vascator quickly pulled up the sensor records. His face went pale as he studied the data. "Captain, those phantom contacts, they match the energy signature of the Nightfall. It was really there. It was following us the whole time. Chen's voice continued. Every malfunction you experienced, every system failure, every targeting error, that was us. We've been inside your computer network since you entered our space. The truth hit Zethkar like a physical blow. The humans had not been caught, off guard by the Vorthak invasion. They had been waiting for it. They had prepared for it. They had turned the entire border region into an elaborate trap. Your species made first contact by invading our territory and threatening our civilians, Chen explained. This is your one chance to leave with evidence of what happens to uninvited guests. Around them, more human ships were becoming visible, dozens of them, maybe hundreds. They had been hidden throughout the system, waiting for the perfect moment to reveal themselves. Zethkar realized that Haven's Rest was not just a disguised military base. The entire region was a fortress. Every asteroid could hide weapons. Every piece of space debris could be a sensor probe. Every innocent-looking cargo ship could be a warship in disguise. The humans had turned space itself into a weapon. Next time we meet, Chen continued, we'll assume you're not interested in survival. The psychological impact was devastating. The Vorthaks had built their empire on the belief that they were the strongest species in the galaxy. They had conquered everyone they met through superior technology and warrior spirit. But the humans had just demonstrated that technology and warrior spirit meant nothing if your enemy controlled the battlefield completely. How long have you been preparing for this? Zethkar asked. Decades, Rodriguez answered. We've been watching aggressive species like yours expand across the galaxy. We knew someone would eventually try to invade human space. We've been ready. The captain of the Void Stalker felt his worldview crumbling. Everything the Vorthaks believed about human weakness was wrong. Everything their spies had reported was false. Everything their intelligence services had told them was a lie. The humans had not been too weak to defend themselves. They had been too smart to show their true strength. What happens now? Zethkar asked. Now you make a choice, Chen replied. You can return home with proof of what you found here. Or you can stay and see what other surprises we have prepared for uninvited guests. Zethkar looked at his ruined ship. Half his systems were offline. His weapons were useless. His engines barely functioned. He was completely at the mercy of beings he had thought were harmless. The proud Vorthak captain faced the most difficult decision of his military career. He could fight to the death and maintain his honor according to Vorthak tradition. Or he could live with the shame of surrender and return home to warn his people about the mistake they had almost made. Around him, space was filled with human ships that had appeared from nowhere. Each one was a reminder that his species had underestimated their enemy completely. For the first time in Vorthak history, retreat was the only rational choice. Captain Zethkar stood in the ruins of what had once been the bridge of a mighty warship. Sparks flew from damaged control panels. Emergency lights cast red shadows across the faces of his crew. The proud Void Stalker was now little more than a crippled hulk floating in space. Around his ship, dozens of human vessels maintained a perfect formation. They did not threaten or posture. They simply waited with the patience of predators who knew their prey had nowhere to run. Captain, Lieutenant Vascator said quietly, we're receiving another transmission from the human commander. Zethkar nodded wearily. Put her through. Commander Chen's face appeared on the main screen. She was a middle-aged human woman with short gray hair and calm eyes. She wore a simple military uniform with no decorations or medals. She looked like someone who had seen many battles and won most of them. Captain Zethkar, she said in a professional tone, you have 10 minutes to make your decision. Surrender and leave human space alive, or continue fighting and share the fate of your escort vessel. The Vorthak captain looked at his tactical display. The sharp fang was still missing. No wreckage, no energy signature, no trace that it had ever existed. "What did you do to the sharp fang?" he asked. "We removed it," Chen replied simply. "No further explanation is necessary." Zethkar felt a chill run down his spine. The humans spoke about destroying a warship the way they might talk about throwing away garbage. Casual, efficient, without emotion. "Commander Chen," he said carefully, "my species has a tradition of fighting to the death rather than surrendering. It is a matter of honor." "I understand," Chen said. "Many species have such traditions. Most of them are extinct now." The words hit like a physical blow. Zethkar realized that the humans were not making empty threats. They had done this before. They had faced other aggressive species, and those species were no longer around to tell their stories. "You're saying you've destroyed entire civilizations?" Vasktor asked in horror. Chen's expression did not change. "I'm saying that species which cannot adapt their traditions to new realities tend to disappear from the galaxy. Your choice, Captain." On the communication channel, they could hear fragments of conversation between human ships. The aliens expected to hear celebration or boasting. Instead, they heard cold efficiency. Target package secured. Minimal resource expenditure. Threat assessment, moderate. Begin preparation for cleanup operations. The humans were discussing the battle the way bureaucrats might discuss filing paperwork. To them, the destruction of 3 Vorthak warships was not a victory to celebrate. It was just another day at work. This was not even a real fight to them, Zethkar realized. Captain Rodriguez's voice joined the conversation. "Captain Zethkar, I want you to understand something important. What you've seen today is not our military at full strength. This is Border Patrol. This is the minimum force we deploy against uninvited guests." The Vorthak captain stared at the human ships surrounding him. "You're saying this is not your main fleet?" "This is one patrol group in one small sector of space," Rodriguez confirmed. "We have thousands of such groups spread across human territory, and behind them we have forces you cannot imagine." Zethkar tried to process this information. If what the humans were saying was true, then the Vorthak hegemony had not encountered humanity's military. They had encountered something more like a police force. "Captain," Grelthak called from his engineering station, "I'm detecting massive energy buildups throughout the system. More ships are arriving." On the tactical display, new contacts were appearing. These ships were larger than anything they had seen before. Some were the size of small moons. Others seemed to stretch across kilometers of space. "Those are our reinforcements," Chen explained. "Standard procedure when dealing with unknown aggressive species. We like to be thorough." The reinforcements took positions around the asteroid field. They did not threaten or posture. They simply waited, adding their firepower to the already overwhelming force surrounding the Vorthaks. "How many ships do you have?" Zethkar asked. "Enough," Chen replied. The captain of the Voidstalker began to understand the scope of his mistake. The Vorthak hegemony had conquered 17 star systems over 50 years. They thought this made them a galactic power, but the humans had been preparing for interstellar warfare for much longer. They had built not just a military, but an entire civilization designed for conflict. Every colony was a fortress. Every civilian was a potential soldier. Every piece of technology was a weapon waiting to be activated. "Captain," his communications officer said urgently, "I'm picking up transmissions from Vorthak space. The hegemony is trying to contact us." "Put them through." The face of High Admiral Crusade appeared on a secondary screen. He was the supreme commander of all Vorthak military forces, a legendary warrior who had personally led the conquest of 7 star systems. "Captain Zethkar, report your status immediately. We have lost contact with your escort vessels." Zethkar looked at the admiral, then at the human ships surrounding him. How could he explain what had happened? How could he make his superiors understand that everything they believed about human weakness was wrong? "Admiral," he said slowly, We have encountered unexpected resistance. The humans are not what our intelligence reports claimed. Explain. Yourself, Captain. Are you saying that a few human mining ships defeated 3 Vorthak warships? No, sir. I'm saying that there are no human mining ships. Everything here is military. The entire border region is one massive fortress. Admiral. Kreshtar's expression grew angry. That's impossible! Our spies have confirmed that human space is poorly defended. Your spies saw what the humans wanted them to see, Commander Chen interjected, her voice carrying over the communication channel. The Admiral's eyes widened as he realized that the humans were listening to their private military communications. Who is this? Commander Sarah Chen, United Earth Space Navy. I wanted to introduce myself before your captain makes his final decision. What decision? Chen's expression remained perfectly calm. Whether your ships leave our space alive or whether they join the rest of our uninvited guests in whatever dimension we sent them to. Admiral Kreshtar looked confused. The rest of your uninvited guests? Oh, yes, Chen said. You're not the first aggressive species to test our defenses. The Zelkari Dominion tried to invade human space 3 years ago. The Makroth Empire attempted. Conquest 2 years before that. We have quite a collection of vessels from species that thought we looked like easy prey. The implication was clear. Other powerful civilizations had made the same mistake as the Vorthaks. None of them had survived the experience. You're bluffing, the Admiral said, but his voice lacked conviction. Captain Rodriguez, Chen said, please show our guests the memorial garden. The main screen switched to an external view of one of the larger human ships. Its hull was covered with what looked like artwork, geometric patterns and symbols in hundreds of different styles. Each of those symbols represents a ship we've destroyed, Rodriguez explained. Each pattern represents a different species that chose fighting over leaving. We keep them as a reminder that the galaxy is full of civilizations that thought they were stronger than they actually were. Zethkar studied the hull markings. There were thousands of them, thousands of ships from dozens of different species. The humans had been fighting and winning against aggressive aliens for decades. The Vorthak hegemony has conquered 17 star systems, Admiral Kreshtar said with forced pride. Congratulations, Chen replied. The species that created those patterns conquered an average of 32 systems each before they met us. It didn't help them. The psychological warfare was devastating. Everything the Vorthaks believed about their own strength was being systematically destroyed. They were not galactic conquerors. They were just the latest in a long line of aggressive species that had overestimated their own capabilities. What do you want from us? Zethkar asked. Nothing, Chen said. We want you to leave our space and never come back uninvited. That's all we've ever wanted. And if we refuse, then you'll become new patterns on our memorial ship. Zethkar looked around his ruined bridge. His crew was staring at him with fear and confusion. These were warriors who had never known defeat. They had never faced an enemy they could not overcome through superior firepower and aggressive tactics. But the humans had made it clear that firepower and aggression meant nothing against properly prepared defenses. Admiral, Zethkar said to his commander, I recommend immediate withdrawal from human space. We are completely outmatched. Unacceptable, Kreshtar replied. The Vorthak military does not retreat. We fight until victory or death. Then you're choosing death, Chen observed. Captain Zethkar, you have 5 minutes to decide whether you follow your admiral's orders or save your crew. The captain of the Void Stalker faced an impossible choice. Vorthak military tradition demanded that he fight to the death rather than surrender. But Vorthak's survival instinct demanded that he retreat before his entire species made the same mistake. Admiral, he said carefully, if we continue this attack, the hegemony will declare war on humanity. Are we prepared for that conflict? Of course we are. The humans cannot possibly have the resources to fight a real war against a galactic power. Chen smiled for the first time since the conversation began. Admiral, I think you should speak with some of your intelligence officers. Ask them how many star systems humanity actually controls. Ask them how large our population really is. Ask them how long we've been preparing for exactly this kind of war. Our intelligence is accurate, the Admiral insisted. Your intelligence is exactly what we wanted you to believe, Chen corrected. We've been feeding false information to your spies for years. We wanted aggressive species like yours to think we were weak and poorly defended. Why? Because it makes you overconfident. It makes you attack with insufficient force. It makes you easy to defeat. Zethkar realized with growing horror that the human strategy was far more sophisticated than simple military preparation. They had manipulated their enemies into defeating themselves. The humans wanted us to attack, he whispered. Of course we did, Chen confirmed. How else were we supposed to demonstrate to the galaxy that human space is not a safe target for expansion? We needed examples. You volunteered to become one. The captain looked at his tactical display. His ship was surrounded. His weapons were offline. His crew was demoralized, and now he was learning that the entire invasion had been orchestrated by the humans themselves. The Vorthak hegemony had not stumbled into a trap. They had been carefully guided into one. 2 minutes, Captain, Chen announced. Zethkar closed his eyes and made the hardest decision of his military career. 3 weeks later, Captain Zethkar stood before the High Council of the Vorthak hegemony. The Great Chamber was filled with the most powerful military leaders in Vorthak space, hundreds of warriors who had conquered star systems and enslaved. Entire species waited to hear his report. The captain's ship, the Void Stalker, was still being repaired in orbital shipyards above the hegemony capital world. Its hull was scarred with precise burn marks where human weapons had surgically removed critical systems. The damage patterns told a story that no Vorthak engineer wanted to believe. Captain Zethkar, said Supreme Commander Thissarak from his throne at the center of the chamber. You were sent to scout human space and evaluate their defenses. Instead, you return with wild stories of defeat and surrender. Explain yourself. Zethkar activated the holographic display he had prepared. Images from the battle appeared in the air above the assembled council. They showed human ships appearing from nowhere, Vorthak vessels helpless against electronic warfare, and the mysterious disappearance of the Sharp Fang. Honored leaders, he began. Everything our intelligence services told us about human military capability was wrong. They are not weak. They are not scattered. They are not unprepared for war. Murmurs of disbelief ran through the chamber. General Krexthul, the conqueror of the Zalanti worlds, stood to speak. Captain, are you seriously claiming that a few human patrol ships defeated 3 Vorthak warships? Our vessels are the most advanced in the galaxy. No, sir. I am claiming that what we thought were a few patrol ships was actually a massive military installation disguised as a mining colony. The entire border region is fortified beyond anything we have ever encountered. Zethkar played the recording of his conversation with Commander Chen. The assembled warriors listened in growing amazement as the human officer casually described destroying entire species that had tried to invade human space. This could be elaborate deception, suggested Admiral Vorthon. Humans are known to be skilled at lying. Then explain this, Zethkar said. He activated a new section of the display. It showed detailed sensor readings from the battle, including the precise moments when human weapons had disabled Vorthak systems. The data was undeniable. Their weapons hit exactly where they wanted them to hit, he explained. They could have destroyed our ships completely, but they chose not to. They were demonstrating their capabilities, not fighting for survival. Supreme Commander Thissarak leaned forward on his throne. You are saying they were toying with us? I am saying they were teaching us a lesson. They wanted us to return home, with proof of what happens to uninvited guests in human space. The chamber fell silent. The idea that any species could treat Vorthak warriors as students to be educated rather than enemies to be crushed was almost incomprehensible. "Show us the intelligence data you gathered," ordered General Crexthul. Zethkar played the recordings of human military communications during the battle. The council listened to the casual, professional tone of human officers discussing the destruction of Vorthak forces. Target package secured. Minimal resource expenditure. Threat assessment, moderate. They spoke about defeating us the way clerks might discuss filing reports, Zethkar explained. This was not a desperate battle for them. It was routine border patrol duty. Intelligence Director Slithek stepped forward. He was responsible for gathering information about human military capabilities. His reputation depended on the accuracy of his reports. "Captain, our agents have spent years infiltrating human space. They have confirmed repeatedly that human defenses are minimal and their technology is primitive." "Your agents saw what the humans wanted them to see," Zethkar replied. "Commander Chen told me directly that they have been feeding false information to our spies for years." He played Chen's recorded words. "We've been feeding false information to your spies for years. We wanted aggressive species like yours to think we were weak and poorly defended." The intelligence director's face went pale. If the humans had been deliberately deceiving Vorthak intelligence, then every piece of information they had about human capabilities was worthless. "This is troubling," Slithek admitted. "It gets worse," Zethkar said. "They claim to have thousands of patrol groups like the one we encountered, and those are just their border guards." He showed the council images of the massive human reinforcement. Ships that had arrived during the battle, vessels the size of small moons, bristling with weapons and carrying unknown numbers of fighters. "If their border patrol consists of fleets this large," Zethkar continued, "what do you think their main military looks like?" For the first time in the meeting, Supreme Commander Thissarak looked uncertain. He had built his career on the belief that Vorthak military power was superior to anything in the galaxy. The idea that they might have encountered something stronger was almost unthinkable. "Even if the humans are more capable than we believed," he said slowly, "they cannot possibly match the full might of the hegemony. We control 17 star systems. We have thousands of warships. We have billions of warriors." Commander Chen suggested I ask our intelligence services how many star systems humanity actually controls, Zethkar said. "Director Slithek, what is your current estimate?" The intelligence director consulted his datapad. "Approximately 40 to 50 systems, based on our latest surveys." "And how confident are you in that number?" Slithek hesitated. "Given what we have just learned about human deception capabilities, not very confident." Zethkar nodded grimly. "I believe the humans control far more territory than we realize. I believe their population is much larger than our estimates, and I believe they have been preparing for galactic warfare far longer than any of us suspected." He showed the council the recording of the human memorial ship, its hull covered with thousands of symbols representing destroyed vessels from dozens of species. Each of those patterns represents a civilization that thought it was stronger than humanity, he explained. Each symbol is a reminder that the galaxy is full of extinct species that made the same mistake we almost made. The chamber erupted in angry voices. Some council members refused to believe that any species could be more powerful than the Vorthaks. Others demanded immediate mobilization for a full-scale war against humanity. Still others suggested that perhaps negotiation might be wiser than confrontation. Supreme Commander Thissarak raised his hand for silence. "Captain Zethkar, what is your personal recommendation?" The captain took a deep breath. What he was about to say would end his military career, but it might save his entire species. "I recommend immediate peace negotiations with humanity. I recommend formal diplomatic contact. I recommend that we become the first species to apologize to the humans for trespassing in their space." The chamber exploded in outrage. "Apologize?" The Vorthak hegemony did not apologize to anyone. They conquered or they destroyed. They did not bow to other species. You are suggesting surrender without a fight, accused General Crexthul. I am suggesting survival, Zethkar replied. The humans were not defending their space from us. They were protecting us from what they could have done instead. He let that sink in for a moment before continuing. They could have destroyed our ships without warning. They could have invaded Vorthak space in retaliation. They could have made examples of our colonies the way they apparently made examples of other aggressive species. Instead, they sent us home with a message. They demonstrated their capabilities without using their full strength. They showed us exactly what would happen if we continued on our current path. Supreme Commander Thissarak studied the tactical displays showing the battle. The precision of human attacks, the sophistication of their technology, the casual efficiency of their operations. It painted a picture of military superiority that was hard to deny. What kind of message do you think they wanted us to deliver? He asked. That human space has an open-door policy, Zethkar said. For diplomats, traders, and friends. But for uninvited guests who come with hostile intent, that door only swings one way. The captain activated one final hologram. It showed a map of local galactic space with human territory marked in blue. But instead of the small cluster of systems they had expected, the blue area covered nearly a quarter of the galaxy. This is what I believe human space actually looks like, he said, based on ship deployment patterns, communication intercepts, and energy signatures detected during our retreat. The council stared at the map in shock. If Zethkar's estimates were correct, humanity was not a minor species ripe for conquest. They were already the dominant power in this region of the galaxy. How did we not know this? Whispered Admiral Vorthan. Because they didn't want us to know, Zethkar replied. Because they prefer to be underestimated. Because they understand that the best defense often appears to be no defense at all. Intelligence Director Slithek was frantically checking his data files. If these estimates are correct, then human military forces could outnumber ours by factors of 10 to 1 or more. Which brings me to my final recommendation, Zethkar said. We need to send ambassadors, not admirals. We need to request permission to establish trade relations and diplomatic contact. We need to do everything we can to avoid giving them a reason to consider us a threat. Supreme Commander Thissarak sat back in his throne, processing everything he had heard. The Vorthak hegemony had built its empire through conquest and intimidation. The idea of seeking peaceful relations with a potential enemy was foreign to their entire culture. But the alternative might be the extinction of their species. Captain, he said finally, you are asking us to abandon everything we believe about Vorthak's strength and superiority. No, sir. I am asking us to learn the difference between strength and wisdom. The humans are strong enough to destroy us completely, but wise enough to give us a chance to choose a different path. The council debated for hours. Some members still wanted war. Others demanded more intelligence gathering. But slowly, a consensus began to emerge. The Vorthak hegemony would swallow its pride and request formal diplomatic contact with humanity. Within days, the news spread beyond the council chamber. Across Vorthak space, military units stood down from combat readiness. Shipyards that had been preparing for war began retooling for peaceful exploration. And throughout the galaxy, other aggressive species quietly began reconsidering their own expansion plans. The message was spreading. Human space was no longer considered a safe target for conquest. Captain Zethkar retired from military service a month later. He spent his remaining years writing detailed reports about human military capabilities and strategic thinking. His work became required reading at every Vorthak military academy. The final words of his memoir would be quoted by military historians for generations. We went looking for easy prey and found apex predators. We went seeking conquest and found teachers. We went to spread fear and learned the meaning of respect. The humans gave us the greatest gift any species can receive, the chance to choose wisdom over destruction. I pray that future generations of Vorthax will remember this lesson and never again mistake restraint for weakness. The galaxy was a safer place because one captain chose to deliver an uncomfortable truth rather than a comfortable lie. And, in human space, the Border Patrol continued its quiet watch, ready to teach the same lesson to the next species that might need to learn it.
The Great Hall of the Galactic Council buzzed with the voices of 100 different species. Light streamed in through tall crystal windows that showed the stars beyond. This was the place where the most powerful beings in the galaxy made their choices. Today, an important meeting was taking place. The Council was going to decide if they should take resources from a small blue planet in a far corner of the galaxy. Gray stood waiting for his turn to speak. He was old, even by the standards of his long-lived species. His skin had the pale, almost translucent quality that came with great age, and his large eyes held the wisdom of centuries. When the council leader signaled, Gray moved to the center of the room. The voices quieted. Respected members of the council, Gray began, his voice soft but carrying to every corner of the vast chamber. I come before you today with a warning about the species you plan to visit on the third planet of the yellow star system. The council leader, a tall being with 6 limbs and scales that shimmered in different colors, looked down at Gray. The reports say these humans have only basic space travel. They have not yet reached beyond their own moon. What could possibly concern you? Gray took a small device from his pocket and placed it on the floor. A 3-dimensional image of Earth appeared, floating in the air for all to see. It is true that humans are young. Their technology is simple compared to ours. But there is something about them that you must understand. Gray waved his hand, and the image changed to show humans throughout their history. Humans are different from every species we have encountered before. They have a quality that makes them truly dangerous. Gray paused, looking around the room. They never give up. A ripple of laughter passed through the council. All species fight to survive, said a member with blue fur and sharp teeth. This is nothing new. Gray shook his head. It goes far beyond simple survival. Let me show you. He changed the image again. Now it showed a human hunter following animal tracks through snow. Day turned to night, and back to day as the human continued, never stopping for long. This is not unusual, said Gray. Many hunters are patient. But look at this. The image shifted to show humans searching for criminals. These humans hunted a wrongdoer for 60 years. The original hunters died. Their children continued the hunt. The council grew quiet. Humans have a concept they call justice. When they believe they have been wronged, they will pursue those responsible across any distance and through any amount of time. Gray changed the image again, showing human wars and peace treaties. Most species fight until it becomes too costly. Then they make peace. Humans will sometimes fight until they win or until they are completely destroyed. The council leader frowned. Are you suggesting these primitives would be a match for our forces? Not now, perhaps not for centuries, Gray replied. But if you attack them, if you kill their people and take their resources without permission, they will never stop hunting you. They will pass down their anger from parent to child. They will improve their technology with a single purpose, to find you. A member with metalled skin and glowing eyes spoke next. We have encountered stubborn species before. They learn quickly enough that resistance is pointless. You miss my point, Gray said. Other species are logical. When faced with a superior force, they make the sensible choice to surrender or negotiate. Humans often do not. They have a saying, revenge is a dish best served cold. It means they are willing to wait generations to settle what they call a score. Gray changed the image one last time. Now it showed a human ship, crewed by council standards, but clearly designed for space travel. They are advancing quickly. In just 100 years, they went from simple flying machines to walking on their moon. Their rate of technological development is among the fastest we have ever observed. All the more reason to establish control now, while we still can, said the blue-furred member. Gray sighed. I have studied thousands of species across my long life. I have never advised the Council to avoid contact with any of them, until now. If you attack the humans, they will mark you. All of you. They will learn your names, your homeworlds, and they will come for you. The Council leader seemed troubled for a moment. Then he straightened. We appreciate your concern, Gray, but the decision has already been made. The resource extraction mission will proceed as planned. You need those resources that badly? Gray asked. The new expansion requires it, said the metal skin member. We have markets to satisfy, colonies to support. Then at least approach them peacefully, Gray pleaded. Offer trade, share technology. They could become valuable allies. Negotiation takes too long, said the Council leader. We need those resources now, not after years of diplomatic talks. He raised his hand. The Council has voted. Commander Blue will leave the extraction mission. They depart tomorrow. Gray closed his eyes briefly. When he opened them, he looked at each Council member in turn. Remember my words. If you take from the humans by force, they will never forget. They will never forgive. They will hunt you forever. Your concern is noted, said the Council leader. This meeting is adjourned. As the Council members filed out, Gray remained in the center of the room. He felt the weight of what was to come. The Council had made many mistakes in its long history, but this, he feared, might be its worst. One young Council aide approached him. Do you really believe these humans are so dangerous? They're so small, and their ships are so primitive. Gray looked down at the aide. Size and technology are not everything. The humans have a saying. It's not the size of the dog in the fight. It's the size of the fight in the dog. The Council is about to kick a very small dog with a very big spirit, and they will regret it for generations to come. As Gray left the Council chamber, he wondered if he should try to warn the humans, but such interference was forbidden by Council law. All he could do now was watch and wait for the storm that would surely follow. The next day, a fleet of Council ships left the Central Worlds, heading for the small blue planet that the locals called Earth. At their head was Commander Blue, confident in his mission and in the power of his ships. He had no idea that he was about to change the course of galactic history forever, or that his name would one day be whispered with fear across 1,000 worlds. The warning had been given. The warning had been ignored. Captain Tom Reed was enjoying his morning coffee when the alarm sounded across Titan Base. He jumped up from his chair, spilling the hot liquid across his desk and the reports he had been reading. What's going on? He asked as he rushed into the control room. The screen showed unusual activity near the orbit of Neptune. Lisa, his second-in-command, pointed to the main display. Sir, we're picking up objects moving at incredible speeds. They're slowing down as they approach Neptune. They're not ours. Tom stared at the screen. After decades of searching the stars for signs of intelligent life, it seemed that intelligent life had found them first. How many? He asked quietly. At least 20 large vessels, sir, and dozens of smaller ones. Tom took a deep breath. This was the moment humanity had prepared for, yet never truly expected. Send the first contact package, all frequencies, all formats. The first contact package was humanity's introduction to the stars, a collection of images, mathematics, music, and basic language primers designed to demonstrate peaceful intentions and intelligence. Package sent, sir, Lisa reported. No response yet. For 3 tense days, the alien fleet remained near Neptune. Earth governments called emergency meetings. Military forces went on high alert, and through it all, Titan Base continued sending the first contact package every 6 hours. On the 4th day, the alien fleet began to move again, toward Earth. They're heading straight for Ganymede mining station, Lisa said, her voice tight with worry. Ganymede, Jupiter's largest moon, housed humanity's biggest off-Earth mining operation. 2,000 people lived and worked there. Tom made a quick decision. Prepare my ship. I'm going to meet them halfway. Sir, that's not protocol. We need to establish face-to-face contact before they reach our major installations, Tom insisted. If their intentions are hostile, we need to know now. 6 hours later, Tom's diplomatic vessel, the Handshake, was on an intercept course with the alien fleet. 5 other ships from Earth's small space force accompanied him as escort. Continuing to broadcast first contact package on all channels, reported Will, the communications officer. Still no response. Tom watched through the viewport as the alien ships grew larger. They were beautiful in a strange way, smooth, curved vessels that seemed to shimmer with an inner light. They're slowing, Lisa said. I think they've noticed us. Suddenly, a new sound filled the bridge. A series of clicks and whistles unlike anything Tom had ever heard. They're responding, Will exclaimed, adjusting his equipment. The computer is trying to translate, but it will take time. The alien message repeated several times. Then, to everyone's shock, it was followed by words in English. Attention Earth vessels. This is Commander Blue of the Galactic Council Resource Acquisition Fleet. Your presence is acknowledged. Stand aside. The bridge crew looked at each other in amazement. They speak English. Lisa whispered. Translation technology, Tom guessed, must be far beyond ours. He leaned forward. Will, open a channel. When Will nodded, Tom spoke clearly. Commander Blue, this is Captain Tom Reed of Earth. We welcome you to our solar system and wish to establish peaceful relations. We request a meeting to discuss your intentions. There was a long pause before the reply came. Captain Reed, your solar system contains resources claimed by the Galactic Council. We are here to extract these resources. Your cooperation is appreciated, but not required. Tom felt a chill run down his spine. Commander Blue, these resources belong to the people of Earth. We are willing to discuss trade agreements that would benefit both our peoples. Trade is inefficient, came the cold reply. We have our orders. Your outposts on Ganymede, Titan, and Europa will be evacuated immediately. You have 6 Earth hours to comply. Tom's mind raced. Commander, please. We need more time. At least allow us to discuss this with our world leaders. 6 hours, Blue repeated. Then we begin operations regardless of your status. The communication ended abruptly. Tom turned to his crew. Send everything to Earth Command. Tell them we need instructions immediately. For the next 5 hours, frantic messages flew between Earth, the space stations, and Tom's ship. World leaders argued about how to respond. Military commanders demanded permission to ready their weapons. Scientists pleaded for more time to understand the aliens' technology. With 1 hour remaining, Earth Command finally sent their decision. Do not yield. Attempt further negotiation. All stations are being reinforced. Tom didn't like it. The reinforcements wouldn't arrive in time, and Earth's weapons would be useless against the alien technology he had observed. He opened the channel again. Commander Blue, our people request additional time for discussion. Surely the Galactic Council values diplomatic relations. We can find a solution that works for everyone. Blue's response was immediate. Your time is up, Captain Reed. We detect your military vessels approaching. This is considered a hostile action. They're not hostile, Tom protested. They're just. A bright flash lit up the viewport. On the screens, Tom watched in horror as one of the small science stations near Jupiter exploded. No, he shouted. Commander Blue, stop. There were people on that station. Your warning has been delivered, Blue replied coldly. Clear the area or face similar consequences. Tom's hands clenched into fists. Those were innocent civilians, scientists. They were in a restricted resource area, Blue said. The Galactic Council has claimed this system. Further interference will result in additional enforcement. Before Tom could respond, alarms blared across his ship. Multiple energy signatures, Lisa shouted. They're targeting Ganymede mining station. Warn them, Tom ordered. Tell them to evacuate now. But it was too late. The alien weapons fired again. Strange beams of light that seemed to fold space itself. The mining station, home to 2,000 men and women, vanished in a silent flash. Tom stared at the empty space where the station had been. His whole body felt numb. "Get us out of here," he whispered. "Back to Earth. Now." As the handshake turned and accelerated away, a final message came from Commander Blue. "The resource extraction will continue as planned. Further resistance will be met with appropriate force. This communication is now ended." Tom looked at his crew. He saw the same emotions on their faces that burned in his heart: shock, grief, and a growing anger. "They'll pay for this," Lisa said, her voice shaking. Tom nodded slowly. "Yes, they will." He turned to Will. "Send a message to Earth Command. Tell them war has begun." As the handshake raced home, behind them the alien fleet spread throughout the outer solar system, unaware that they had just made the most dangerous enemy in the galaxy. 6 months had passed since the aliens attacked. 6 months of grief, rage, and desperate preparation. Earth had changed forever on that terrible day when thousands of lives were lost in the outer solar system. Admiral Jane Foster stood on the bridge of the Retribution, Earth's newest and largest warship. It wasn't much compared to the alien vessels, but it was the best humanity could build in such a short time. "Status report," Jane ordered, her voice steady despite the tension that filled the ship. "All systems ready." "Admiral," replied her second-in-command, Officer Mike. "The fleet is in position and awaiting your command." Jane nodded and looked at the main screen. It showed 12 Earth ships hiding in the shadow of Jupiter's moon Callisto. It wasn't much of a fleet: 3 military vessels and 9 retrofitted cargo ships. But it was all that stood between Earth and the alien invaders. "And our secret weapon?" she asked quietly. Mike handed her a tablet. "The science team reports it's ready. They've reverse-engineered enough of the alien technology from the debris we collected. It's not perfect, but Dr. Wilson says it should work." Jane studied the report. After the initial attack, Earth had sent teams to collect any alien technology they could find. Working day and night, the best scientists on the planet had managed to understand some of the basic principles of the alien weapons and shields. "It will have to be enough," Jane said, handing back the tablet. "What's the status of the alien fleet?" "Commander Blue's flagship remains in orbit around Saturn. They've established mining operations on 3 moons. The rest of their fleet is spread throughout the system." Jane's eyes narrowed. "They think we're beaten. They think we've given up." She straightened her uniform. "It's time to show them how wrong they are. Send the signal." Mike nodded and pressed a button on his console. "All ships acknowledge. Operation Payback is a go." Jane took a deep breath. "Begin countdown." Far away, in the magnificent halls of the Galactic Council, Commander Blue's report was being received with satisfaction. "The primitive species has been subdued," Blue's hologram stated to the assembled council members. "They offered minimal resistance after we demonstrated our power. Mining operations are proceeding ahead of schedule." The council leader nodded approvingly. "Excellent work, Commander. Any further issues with the locals?" "None," Blue replied confidently. "They've retreated to their home planet. Their technology is too primitive to pose any threat. I expect to complete the extraction within 1 standard year." Gray, who sat at the back of the chamber, shook his head sadly but remained silent. He had warned them, but they had not listened. Now it was too late. "Very well," said the council leader. "Continue your—" An aide rushed into the chamber and whispered urgently to the council leader, whose scales changed color in alarm. "Commander Blue," the leader said sharply, "we're receiving reports of an attack on your fleet. Please verify." Blue's hologram flickered with surprise. "Impossible. The humans have no weapons that cold." The hologram suddenly disappeared. Back at Saturn, Blue stood on his flagship's bridge in shock. Alarms blared as 3 of his ships reported being under attack. How is this happening? He demanded. Their weapons couldn't even dent our shields 6 months ago. His tactical officer looked up from the console with fear in his multiple eyes. They're using our own technology against us, Commander. Somehow they've adapted our shield frequencies and weapon signatures. Blue couldn't believe it. That's impossible. No species could reverse engineer our technology so quickly. The mining station on Titan is under heavy attack, another officer reported. They're requesting immediate assistance. Blue straightened his posture. Launch all fighters. Target the human vessels and destroy them. This ends now. As Blue's fighters streamed out of his flagship, he didn't notice the small human ship that had drifted close, using the debris field from earlier battles as cover. On board that ship, the Phantom, Commander Jack Smith checked his team one last time. Remember the plan. He told the 12 men and women in tactical gear. We get in, plant the devices, and get out. 20 minutes max. They all nodded. Each of them had lost friends or family in the initial alien attack. This mission was personal. Docking in 30 seconds. The pilot announced. They haven't detected us yet. Jack checked his weapon. A combination of Earth technology and alien components. It felt strange in his hands, but the test results had been promising. For Earth, he said simply. For Earth, his team echoed. The Phantom silently attached itself to the hull of Blue's flagship, its special coating making it invisible to the alien sensors. Jack's team cut through the hull and slipped inside, their suits protecting them from decompression. Inside the alien ship, they moved quickly through the strange corridors. The few aliens they encountered were quickly stunned with the modified weapons. Plant the devices at these junctions, Jack ordered, pointing to a rough map they had created from scans. Teams of 2. Set timers for 15 minutes. As the teams split up, Jack and his partner headed for the bridge. They needed to confirm Blue's location before they left. Meanwhile, the space battle raged around Saturn. Jane's fleet was taking heavy damage, but they were also inflicting serious harm on the alien ships. Their shields are adapting, Mike reported. Our weapons are becoming less effective. Jane nodded grimly. As expected, have all ships start rotation beta, and give me a status on Team Phantom. They've boarded the flagship. No communication as planned. Jane checked the time. 5 more minutes, then we begin withdrawal. All ships need to be at safe distance in 12 minutes. On the alien flagship, Jack placed the last device near what they believed was the main engine control. He checked the timer. 7 minutes remaining. Let's get to the extraction point, he told his partner. As they turned to leave, a door slid open, and Commander Blue himself stepped through, flanked by guards. For a moment, both groups stared at each other in surprise. Then Blue raised a weapon. Humans, he hissed in his translated voice. How dare you board my ship? Jack didn't hesitate. He fired his modified weapon. And to Blue's shock, the energy blast went straight through his personal shield. Blue dove aside, but his guards were hit and fell. Run, Jack shouted to his partner, who took off down the corridor. Jack fired again, forcing Blue to take cover. Their eyes met across the room, human and alien. And Jack saw something new in the commander's gaze. Fear. You were warned, Jack said coldly. You should not have attacked us. Then he turned and ran, following his team back to the extraction point. Behind him, Blue rose and shouted orders to his crew, unaware of the devices counting down throughout his ship. Back on the Retribution, Jane watched the battle with growing tension. All teams report extraction complete, Mike announced finally. Phantom is away from the flagship. Signal the withdrawal, Jane ordered. Full speed to the rendezvous point. As Earth's fleet pulled back from Saturn, the alien ships pursued, exactly as planned. None of them noticed the small devices that had been planted not just on Blue's flagship, but on several other key vessels during the chaos of battle. From the safety of Callisto's shadow, Jane watched the countdown reach 0. Multiple explosions bloomed silently across Blue's fleet. The flagship itself didn't explode completely. They had wanted Blue to survive. But its engines and weapons went dark. Several other ships broke apart entirely. Direct hit, Mike reported, unable to keep the satisfaction from his voice. Flagship is disabled but intact. 5 enemy vessels destroyed. The rest are in disarray. Jane nodded slowly. Send the message. A tight beam transmission shot from the Retribution directly to Blue's crippled flagship. It contained only a few words. This is just the beginning. We are coming for you. As Jane's fleet disappeared into the depths of space, Blue stared at the message on his damaged bridge. For the first time in his long career, he felt something he had never expected to feel when dealing with a primitive species: dread. Send a message to the Council, he ordered his remaining officers. Request immediate reinforcements. One of his officers looked up nervously. Sir, the humans, they're leaving the system. What? Blue couldn't believe it. Where are they going? The officer checked the readings again. Based on their trajectory, they appear to be heading toward Galactic Council space. Blue felt a cold realization wash over him. The humans weren't just defending their system. They were taking the fight to the Council itself. And somehow, deep inside, he knew that Gray had been right all along. 5 years had passed since the Battle of Saturn. 5 years since humanity had stunned the Galactic Council by not only fighting back, but taking the war to their doorstep. General Jack Smith stood on the bridge of the Nemesis, Earth's most advanced warship. Once a simple commander, Jack now led humanity's vengeance fleet. His face had changed over the years. A long scar ran down his left cheek, and his eyes held the hardness that came from years of war. Any sign of him? Jack asked, staring at the star map that filled the main screen. His second-in-command, Officer Ben, shook his head. Not yet, sir. But we've narrowed the search to this sector. Blue can't hide forever. Jack nodded slowly. The hunt for Commander Blue had become Earth's highest priority. After the attack on Saturn, Blue had escaped in a small vessel while his fleet was destroyed. For 5 years, he had been running from system to system, always one step ahead of the human ships that pursued him. What about the Council representatives? Jack asked. Still waiting for your response to their latest peace offer, Ben replied. This is the 5th proposal they've sent in 3 months. Jack's mouth tightened. They know our terms. We want Blue and the Council members who ordered the attack on our system. Nothing less. The Galactic Council had not expected the humans to advance so quickly. Using the alien technology they had captured, Earth's scientists had made incredible breakthroughs. Humans now had ships that could travel between stars, weapons that could match the Council's, and a burning determination that no other species could understand. Sir, called out the communications officer, we're receiving a message from the tracker. They found something. Jack straightened. Put it through. The screen changed to show Captain Mary, commander of the scout ship tracker. General, we've detected an energy signature matching Blue's ship. He's on a small trading outpost in the Proxima system. Jack felt his heart beat faster. After years of searching, they might finally have found their target. How certain are you? 90%, sir. We've been monitoring for 3 days without being detected. He's there. Jack turned to Ben. Prepare the strike team. I'll lead this one myself. Sir, Ben protested, the Council has probably set a trap. Blue is too valuable to them. That's exactly why I need to go, Jack replied. I know Blue better than anyone. I've been chasing him for 5 years. As the Nemesis changed course for the Proxima system, Jack went to his quarters to prepare. On his wall hung a picture of the Ganymede mining station and its 2,000 crew members, all lost in the first alien attack. Jack looked at it every day to remind himself why he fought. His computer chimed with an incoming call. Jack accepted it, and the face of Admiral Jane Foster appeared on the screen. Jack, she said, I hear you found him. Jack nodded. Finally, we're heading to Proxima now. Jane's face showed concern. The Council is getting desperate. They've sent envoys to Earth again, offering significant technology exchanges and reparations if we'll end the hunt. But not Blue, Jack said. They still won't give us Blue. No, Jane agreed. They claim they can't find him. But our intelligence suggests they've been helping him hide. She paused. Are you sure you need to lead this mission yourself? I'm sure, Jack said firmly. This ends with me facing him. Jane studied him for a moment. The Vengeance Directive was never meant to consume us, Jack. Remember that. The Vengeance Directive had been established by Earth's United Governments 2 years after the attack. It stated simply, those responsible for the unprovoked attack on humanity will be brought to justice, no matter how long it takes or how far we must go. I haven't forgotten why we fight, Jack replied. Blue must answer for what he did. 2 days later, the Nemesis arrived at the edge of the Proxima system. The trading outpost was small, a collection of habitats and docks orbiting a lifeless moon. Scan the outpost, Jack ordered as he checked his tactical gear. I want to know exactly where he is before we move in. The 12 members of Jack's strike team were the best Earth had to offer. They had trained together for years, specifically for the mission of capturing Blue. We have confirmation, Ben reported. Blue is in Habitat 4. He's registered under a false name, but facial recognition is positive. Jack nodded. Let's move. Quick and quiet. The strike team's ship approached the outpost under stealth. Years of studying alien technology had given humans advantages that even the Council didn't know about. They docked at a little-used airlock and entered the station without triggering any alarms. Moving through the corridors in pairs, they made their way toward Habitat 4. Jack led the way, his modified pulse rifle ready. The trading outpost was filled with beings from dozens of different species, many of whom had never seen humans before. They stared as the strike team passed, but no one interfered. He's in the 3rd chamber on the left, Ben whispered, checking his scanner. Single life form, matches his species. Jack signaled the team to take positions around the chamber. Remember, we need him alive. With a nod to Ben, Jack triggered the door. It slid open, and he rushed inside, weapon raised. The chamber was simple: a sleeping area, a food preparation unit, and a comm station. And there, standing by the window, was Commander Blue. He looked different than Jack remembered. His once proud uniform was gone, replaced by plain clothing. But his eyes were the same, cold and calculating. Commander Blue, Jack said, his voice hard. By the authority of Earth and the Vengeance Directive, you are under arrest for crimes against humanity. Blue didn't seem surprised. He almost looked relieved. Jack Smith, he said in his translated voice. I wondered which human would finally catch me. You remember me, Jack said. I remember all of you, Blue replied. 5 years of running. 5 years of looking over my shoulder. Your people are persistent. We warned you, Jack said. You were told not to attack us, that we would hunt you forever. Blue made a gesture that might have been a shrug. The Council didn't believe the warning. They thought you were just another primitive species that would accept defeat. He looked out at the stars. They understand now. Jack kept his weapon steady. You're coming with us to Earth to face justice for the deaths of thousands of innocent people. Blue turned back to Jack. The Council is in chaos because of you humans. Multiple species have broken away, fearing your vengeance might extend to them. Trade routes have collapsed. Defensive pacts are being formed. Not our problem, Jack replied coldly. You started this war. And I wish I hadn't, Blue said quietly. Believe it or not, I've had 5 years to regret my actions. The Council ordered me to extract resources quickly and efficiently. I followed orders. Jack felt his finger tighten on the trigger. Those were people, not resources. I know that now, Blue said. But will my capture end this? Will humanity be satisfied with just me, or will you continue hunting the Council members who gave the orders? Before Jack could answer, his comm unit chimed with an urgent alert. "General," came Ben's voice, "we have multiple council ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel. At least 5 heavy cruisers. They'll reach the outpost in minutes." Jack kept his eyes on Blue. "Prepare for emergency extraction." "It seems," Blue said, "that the Council still considers me worth protecting." Jack stepped forward and placed restraints on Blue's limbs. "It won't help them. We've gotten very good at escaping Council traps." As Jack led Blue from the chamber, the alien commander looked at him with genuine curiosity. "How long would you have hunted me if I had not been found today?" Jack's answer was simple: "Forever." Back on the Nemesis, alarms sounded as the Council ships approached. "Evasive pattern Delta," Jack ordered as he brought Blue to the bridge. "Prepare for jump as soon as we clear the gravity well." The crew worked with practiced efficiency. They had escaped Council forces many times before. As the Nemesis accelerated away from the outpost, Blue watched the human crew with new understanding. He had never believed Gray's warning all those years ago. Now, seeing these humans in action, he finally understood what the Old One had meant. They would never have stopped. They would have hunted him until the end of time. The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was silent as the human delegation entered. Admiral Jane Foster led the way, her uniform crisp and decorated with the symbols of Earth's United Forces. Behind her walked General Jack Smith, his face set in stone. And behind him, in restraints, came Commander Blue. The Council members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Many had never expected to see humans in this chamber, let alone as a force to be reckoned with, and none had expected to see Commander Blue as a prisoner. The Council leader rose from his seat. His scales no longer shimmered with confidence as they had years ago. "Admiral Foster, General Smith," he said formally. "The Galactic Council recognizes the delegation from Earth." Jane stepped forward. "We come to present our terms for peace." A murmur ran through the assembled representatives. For 7 years, humanity had waged a relentless campaign across the stars. They had destroyed Council mining operations, disrupted trade routes, and hunted down those responsible for the attack on their system. The Council had underestimated them at every turn. "We are prepared to hear your terms," the Council leader said. His voice betrayed his weariness. "First," Jane said clearly, "Commander Blue will face justice for his actions against Earth. His trial will be conducted on our planet, under our laws." Blue looked down at the floor but did not speak. The fight had gone out of him during his long captivity aboard the Nemesis. "Second," Jane continued, "the Council members who ordered the attack on our system will step down from their positions and never again hold power in this body." Several Council members rose in protest, but the leader silenced them with a gesture. "Third," Jane said, "the Galactic Council will formally recognize Earth's sovereignty and right to all resources within our solar system." "And if we agree to these terms," the leader asked, "what assurances do we have that humanity will end its campaign against us?" Jack stepped forward. "The vengeance directive will be satisfied. Earth will stand down its forces. We did not want this war. We only wanted justice." From the back of the hall, a familiar figure emerged. Gray, the elder who had warned the Council years ago. He walked slowly to stand between the human delegation and the Council leader. "I warned you," he said softly to the leader. "I told you what would happen if you attacked the humans." He turned to Jane and Jack. "And I wish to apologize to Earth for not doing more to prevent this tragedy." Jane looked at the old alien with surprise. "You were the one who warned them about us." Gray nodded. "I have studied thousands of species across my long life. Humans are unique in their determination. I knew what would happen if you were attacked without cause." He looked back at the Council. "And now we have all learned this lesson at great cost." The Council leader sighed. "We will need time to discuss these terms." "You have one Earth day," Jack said firmly. "Our fleet remains at the edge of this system, ready to enforce our demands if necessary." As the humans were escorted to waiting quarters, the Council chamber erupted in debate. Some members argued for continuing the fight, believing that eventually humans would tire of war. Others pointed out that 7 years had not diminished their resolve in the slightest. In a small meeting room away from the main chamber, Gray spoke with Jane and Jack. "You have changed the galaxy," Gray told them. "No species has ever challenged the Council this way and succeeded." "We didn't want to change the galaxy," Jane replied. "We just wanted to be left in peace." Gray nodded. "I understand. But what will Earth do now? Will you join the galactic community, or will you isolate yourselves?" Jack looked at Jane. They had discussed this question many times during the long years of conflict. "We will join," Jane said finally. "But on our terms, as equals, not as subjects." 24 hours later, the council reconvened. The leader stood to address the human delegation. After much deliberation, he announced, "The Galactic Council accepts your terms." His scales had dulled to a flat gray color, the sign of defeat in his species. Commander Blue will be remanded to Earth custody. The council members who ordered the attack have resigned their positions, and we formally recognize Earth's sovereignty. Jane nodded. "Then the war is over." As Blue was led away, he paused beside Jack. "I never understood," he said quietly. "I never understood why you wouldn't stop hunting me." "Because we promised we wouldn't," Jack replied simply. "Humans keep their promises, both good and bad." 1 month later, Earth celebrated the end of the 7-year conflict. The Vengeance Directive was officially fulfilled. Blue had been tried and sentenced to help rebuild what he had destroyed. The former council members had been stripped of power, and humanity had taken its place among the stars. In a quiet ceremony at the newly established Earth Embassy on the Council world, Jane and Gray signed the Never Again Protocol, a new set of laws that would govern relations between all species. This document ensures that no species may attack another without provocation, Gray explained to the assembled diplomats. It establishes rights for all intelligent beings, regardless of their technological development. Jane added, and it creates a new peacekeeping force with representatives from all member worlds to enforce these protections. As the ceremony concluded, a young council aide approached Jack. "Is it true?" he asked. "Would your people really have hunted Commander Blue forever?" Jack looked at the aide for a long moment. "Yes," he said finally. "That's who we are. We don't forget. We don't give up. But we also forgive once justice is served." He gestured to where Blue was working with a team of human and alien engineers. "He's paying for his crimes by helping to build something better." The aide seemed troubled. "My species would have eventually accepted defeat. We would have calculated the cost and surrendered." "That's the difference," Jack said. "For humans, some things are beyond calculation. Some promises must be kept, no matter the cost." Later that evening, Jane stood with Gray on a balcony overlooking the council city. The lights of 1,000 different species twinkled below them. "What happens now?" Jane asked. Gray smiled. "Now we learn from each other. The galaxy has changed, and I believe it's for the better. The council needed to be challenged. It had grown too comfortable with its power." "And what about humans?" Jane asked. "Will we find our place here?" "You already have," Gray replied. "Just yesterday, I heard an interesting story. A small world on the rim was being threatened by pirates. Do you know what the local governor said when asked what they would do?" Jane shook her head. "He said, 'Send for the humans. Not for the council forces, not for their own defense fleet. For the humans.'" Gray looked at her with his ancient eyes. "Your reputation precedes you now. The species that would not stop, would not surrender, would not forget. But also the species that kept its word." As a new day dawned on the council world, ships from Earth arrived carrying scientists, diplomats, artists, and explorers, all eager to learn and share with the galactic community. The war was over, the hunt was done, and humanity had proven that Gray's warning had been right all along. Do not attack the humans. They will hunt you forever. But they had also shown something else, that once justice was served, they could build peace that would last just as long.